Hi guys, and welcome to our weekly Facebook Live. And I was planning on telling a funny story that happened to me last weekend with some good lessons to be learned. But obviously, with the tragic news of Anthony Foley's passing, I didn't think it was appropriate this week. And anyone that got an email from me last night about the clinical corner, for anyone on the email list, apologies, that was actually supposed to have been sent on Sunday. So what I wanted to do today is pay my own tribute to Axel. And I had the privilege of working with Axel for about a year in Limerick, and we developed a good relationship. We've done quite a bit together. Fond memories of playing, especially indoor soccer with him in UL, and his outrageous banter with George. And I've kept in contact with Axel quite a bit over the last 3-4 years, and I spoke to him about 4 or 5 months ago. He rang me, and as I reflect on Axel, it really kind of puts it into perspective of for me, with my motivators of why I worked in sport, and why I wanted to work in sport was to meet people and work with people like Axel Foley, where his passion and his determination is just it's there for everyone to see, really. And as I said, it really does, from a clinician point of view and a physio point of view, just make it all worthwhile when we get to meet people like this. And working in clinics and working in in the healthcare systems, you may see glimpses of people like this, but when you work in sport, you get to spend time with these people. You get to travel with them, stay in hotels with them, etc. So you get to see the kind of ins and outs of those people. And there is a few people like Axel Foley, but obviously he is quite unique. And there's usually 1 or 2 kind of characters like Axel in every team. And people like Axel, the big thing with Axel is that I would say is he knew how to ask a question straight. Like, he did not beat around the bush, and you either you liked it or you hated it. And the one thing I would say is he asked some outrageously, almost inappropriately worded questions at times, but those questions needed to be asked. And as a clinician, we're in situations where we get asked those kind of questions, and they're either going to make you sink or swim, basically. And Axel was the kind of guy, because of his passion for Munster rugby, etc., he would ask those questions straight out, and you either liked it or you hated being in meetings with Axel. But the one thing I would say is, if you're confident in your systems, you're confident in your own ability, you know exactly what you're doing, then you've got no problem, because he could see that, and he knew that if you cracked on with your job, there was absolutely no problems. And as I said, these kind of questions we need to be asking our players, and we need to be asking coaches, and we need to be asking these hard questions at times in sport to keep us on track, and to make sure that we're working to the best of our ability as well. And as I said, I've modelled myself a little bit on Axel at times, where I've had to ask hard questions to players, where maybe the rehab, something wasn't quite making sense for me. They were coming in some kind of day and things just weren't adding up. And and it's in those situations where you have to ask the hard questions. You have to ask the direct questions to the players. You have to go to your comfort zone a little bit, and you have to get back that authority in that relationship. And as I said, I've learned a lot from him. And then the other thing that I think is really, really important that I've learned from Axel as well is the banter. Like, when he rang me 4 or 5 months ago, like, the first 4 or 5 minutes of that conversation is just absolute banter. It's something there. He loved it. He'd laugh, out loud with that infectious laugh. And he just knew how to talk to people as well. So although he asked the hard questions, he also knew and loved that banter, and that's the thing that I think is important. And I talk about that in my 7 Steps to Clinical Excellence ebook, is being able to talk to people, get on with people, whether it's a player, an athlete, or a patient, have that bit of banter with them, and then get down to business. And I think, with Axel, he definitely had a great balance between the banter, where he could give and take his fair share of banter, to all of us, but also he asked the hard questions, and he was able to knuckle down and do the job. And I think as clinicians working in sport, we can learn a lot from that, where it's getting that balance where you can have banter with players, but also we know how to ask the hard questions, and you need to keep that line really where we don't go too far one or the other, because to get the athletes on board, you know, they need a combination of that. They need to be able to come to you, have a bit of banter, but they also need to know when times are there to do the work and get the rehab done. So it's getting that balance, I think, is very, very important as well. And I think, you know, Axel was a great example of having that balance where he had the banter, but he also got the work done. Okay, so as I said, I wish I was doing a funny story that happened to me last week, or at the end of last week, that I was going to do this week, but I'm going to hold off on that for another week or two. So that's the Facebook Live. As I said, you know, it's an absolute honour and privilege, and I was absolutely shocked at the weekend. And as I said, I'll miss those phone calls when he does ring you up, and that outrageous banter happens. All right, so I'll speak to you during the week. If you have any questions about any upcoming Facebook Lives, just you can get in touch with the comments, or anyone that's on our email list. Obviously, there's a clinical corner sent out to you on Monday, which should have been sent out on Sunday, so you can check that out as well. And I'll have a few more bits and pieces coming up at the end of this week.